Welcome back to the Unnamed Sports Show. I'm your host, Ryan, joined by my co hosts, Jerry and Jason. Don't forget to follow us, like, and subscribe at all the social media. We are at Unnamed Sports S. And we're happy you're joining us here today. Off of IR, fresh off of IR this week, Jason Jones back in a sweet looking tank top, dude. Your shoulder is looking fire. I can't see much else, but gosh dang. How you
All right.
feeling, my man?
I'm feeling a lot better. I'm feeling a lot better. Thanks, no thanks to Jerry. But we got back from the sickness, and I'm glad to be here with y'all.
We definitely missed you last week. Jerry, how's the week treating you? Are you ready for tonight?
Dude, first of all, sorry for getting you sick, Jason. Second of all, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. It was a busy weekend in the sports world, and I'm pretty hyped to get into it.
It sure was. It sure was. Starting off here in the NFL, we had a pretty crazy week. You can see the scores posted. Started on a great Thursday night. First primetime game that had been, at least first Thursday primetime game that had been really good, I think, this year. And the Seahawks take on the Cowboys. They lose in very close fashion. It was tight the entire game. It feels like forever ago. I guess it was 6 days ago. But Jason, from what you remember, what do you think about how the Cowboys and Seahawks played? Do you think the Seahawks are kind of putting something together to come down the stretch, or is it pretty much too late for them?
No, I think they'll be able to put something together. They have two hard games coming up. Probably not going to win, but the last three games pretty easy games. I think they'll be able to make it to the playoffs. I liked what I saw from DK Metcalf. He took that next step, and I think he's going to continue to improve and win me a fantasy championship.
Hey, there you go. It was a great game to watch. It honestly was refreshing to turn it on Thursday and be like, okay, I'm actually having fun here. I'm actually enjoying watching. Moving on to the Sunday games, we have the Broncos fall to the Texans. Jerry, what happened?
What
Uh,
happened?
yeah, Russell Wilson finally had a bad game. He had three picks, and on the last offensive play for Denver, they decide to try to put a jump ball to their third string tight end for some reason in the back of the end zone. And unfortunately, PS2 went down. I don't think he came back in the game, so Nico Collins was able to pop off even in the absence of Tank Dell. But hey, one score game doesn't put us out of the playoff race. Would have been nice to get that one, but we still got 5 games to claw back into it.
Hey, that's right. That's right. It's gonna be tight in the AFC. It is cooking. The kitchen is hot. The Colts beat the Titans in OT. Crazy game. There was a blocked punt touchdown, and then a pick two, not pick six. So if you're going for a 2 point conversion and it's intercepted and ran back, scoring there is only worth 2 points. So a pick two after that. Then nobody scored after 25 for a while, and then Titans kick a field goal. Colts win it right at the very end after Gardner Minshew put together a heck of a drive to go win that game. Chargers Patriots. Patriots are the only team this year to not win a single game when holding the opponent to only 10 points. Every other team is 53-0 in holding their opponent
Wow.
uh, under 10 points. Patriots 0-3. So it's pretty lopsided stat there. Bill Belichick probably on the way out, Jerry.
Absolutely. how do you how do you hold a team to 6 points and lose? I I don't care who you put back there. You got Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi. They both are dog. You know what? They stink, man. They stink. That team is so bad, and yeah, Belichick's got to be. If it's not on the other side, Brandon Staley, who's in the hottest seat in the NFL right now, it's got to be Bill Belichick.
It's crazy because you win all these Super Bowls. You got Tom Brady. Everyone thinks goat, goat. He's the goat. To now, you only have 2 wins on the season, and you're probably getting fired. And the only reason you're not already fired is because you have won those Super Bowls. You've earned a little bit of that tenure. But it's crazy to see Bill Belichick, and then see Patriots, and then see two and what would it be now? 2-10. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2-10 next to their record. Pretty incredible. Not gonna lie, I love to see it after watching them dominate for so many years.
Official end of a dynasty.
Yeah,
Officially.
thank
Finally.
goodness. Thank goodness. So Lions take care of business against the Saints. That one was a 10-point game. Saints kind of cut it back in the fourth quarter. A big snoozer for the Falcons Jets game. Falcons beat the Jets 13-8. Cardinals. Cardinals, huh? Take out the Steelers 24-10. Are the Steelers bad, Jason? I thought Matt Canada being fired, I thought that saved everything.
It saves nothing because your team is fighting so hard to be so good and end up being average. And you know what? We don't want to Chase Young over here. And guess what happens when you ain't got to Chase Young? You can't win no games.
Yeah, it's pretty absurd to see that the Steelers are as as bad as they are. I think maybe you might have been looking at the Commanders there, but or were the Steelers in the running for Chase Young? I don't know.
No. Their coach said, "We don't ever want a guy like you to take the-"
Oh, that's
Ah,
right. That's right. That's right. Jason knew. We didn't know. Jason knew. No, that is true. He didn't say he didn't want somebody. He said, "I'll never be able to draft someone as good as you."
No, he said, "I never want to be in a position to get someone like you."
Yeah, meaning he didn't want to be have he wouldn't didn't want his team to be bad enough to be able to draft someone of his caliber.
Right. And here's what happens. This is what happens. When you don't ever lose games, you can't ever get good players unless they want to come to your organization. And does anyone want to be up in Pittsburgh? I don't think so.
so they're just like fully mediocre just all the time.
All the time.
I see what
No.
you're saying. I mean, they still got TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith. I think those guys are pretty good, but I see what you're saying. I think their biggest problem is on offense. They can't get the ball rolling. Deontay Johnson looks completely uninterested. The Steelers, thank goodness, they look like they suck, and I hope they don't make the playoffs. Up next, you have the Dolphins and the Commanders. Dolphins beat the Commanders 45-15, absolutely blew them away. Then you have the Browns at Rams. Browns
Talk to us,
lose
Ryan.
another one. No, it's just like that score looks like we absolutely got slaughtered. Not the case. We had the ball with 5 minutes left in the game, down 1 point because our kicker missed an extra point, and Joe Flacco decides to throw an arm punt on first down. Like, played an excellent game, like 60%, 65% completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, looked great, and then literally just says, I think Elijah Moore's down there and chucks it up. And John Johnson has the easiest interception, 43-yard return. Then we get the ball back, or they score a touchdown. We're down 8. We get the ball back, get the ball. It's 3rd and inches, which actually was a first down. Then they call a phantom ball movement penalty for a 5-yard penalty, 2 incompletions, turn it over on downs. They score another touchdown. We get the ball back, and then Joe Flacco decides to run backward and get sacked twice in a row for a safety. So, I mean, total fourth quarter collapse, but I think at the end of the day, Browns still 7-5. Got a chance this weekend against the Jags. We'll get to that here in a minute. But the Rams on a path could potentially make the playoffs. Up next, you have the Buccaneers taking out the Panthers. Panthers are terrible, no question there. Then we had the most surprising beatdown of the entire weekend. 49ers destroy the Eagles. Jerry, what happened to the Eagles, dude? I thought they were dogs at home. They can't be dogs at home. They're supposed to be good. They got stomped.
They got manhandled in their own house. I know Lane Johnson was taking care of Nick Bosa, but man, the way that Debo and CMC were carrying that team on offense was just it was a beautiful piece of art to see. But I don't know what happened to the Eagles. They come out in the first quarter. They look pretty darn good. They are able to drive the ball down the field. Unfortunately, unable to capitalize. They had to settle for a couple of field goals in the first quarter. But they held Brock Purdy to, I think he was at like maybe 10, 15 yards in the first quarter passing. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Debo, Ayuk, CMC, even George Kittle was getting involved. He had a heck of a day too. And they just completely blew the Eagles out of the water. I know Jalen Hurts was out for a couple of drives, was finally able to come back in. Yeah, man, I don't know. They are on suspect watch for sure after that one, and we got a heck of a matchup again this week against the Cowboys in Dallas. So we'll see if they can put something together.
6 straight possessions with touchdowns for the 49ers. Absolutely unreal. You had the Chiefs traveling to the Packers. Chiefs lose tight, controversial, but Mahomes himself came out and said, can't get all the penalties, can't let the penalties be the reason you win or lose. Kind of went both ways. I think the Chiefs are still fine. They still have Patrick Mahomes. They still have a great defense. And then the last game, overtime loss. Jaguars lose on Monday night. First Monday night football, first home Monday night football game since Barack Obama was president. And the Jaguars lose to Jake Browning. Jason, how does this happen? I mean, all three of our teams just
Okay.
not great, not great
Let me
This
performances.
let
was
me
not a good week.
let me start by saying Jake Browning is the greatest high school quarterback of all time. All right.
Yes, that translates.
It definitely does because what he did was whoop on this. Like, oh my goodness, he was making precision passes. They were getting the ball out of their hands quick. Our defense was very slow to react. Everything was just not going well. Even when Trevor Lawrence was in the game, they were pushing down the ball. And I didn't expect that. I don't think anyone really expected that from Jake Browning. But he showed he's capable of controlling an offense. And I think I saw a video of him. He was working out with. Why did my brain? Joe Shiesty, all offseason and with his quarterback guru, and I think it helped. So, but that being said, we are out a quarterback, wide receiver, Christian Kirk. We are out left tackle for a little bit. A lot of injuries. A bad game. Um, bad. It was a bad start to like our playoff push. So like you want to win that game without their starting quarterback, and now we have to go play the Browns, play the Ravens, and without Trevor Lawrence, those are going to be tough games. Those are going to be tough games.
Very tough. It is coming down the stretch here. Basically, what you do the next 5 weeks, because that's all there is left, folks, of the regular season. Okay, this is the last week of buys for any team. There are only 5 games left on everyone's schedule. So it's do or die time.
Yeah.
It's time to put it together.
Yeah.
This right now is what the playoff picture looks like. In the AFC, you have the Dolphins at the 1 seed. Wow.
Dolphins are the 1 seed. I was surprised too.
That's
Uh,
that is odd. You get the Ravens at the 2 seed, Chiefs at the 3, Jags at the 4, Steelers at 5, Browns at 6, and the Colts at 7. Interesting to note, at the current moment in time, 4 of these 7 teams are starting backup quarterbacks this week, which is insane to think about.
With the NFL,
mhm.
everybody's getting hurt.
So as it would stand right now, because there are 7 teams, the Dolphins would have the bye. The Ravens would play the Colts. The Chiefs would play the Browns, and the Jags would play the Steelers. But I don't think this is what we think is going to happen. Actually, we all took time to make what our own playoff picture would look like. This is mine upcoming in the AFC. I have the Chiefs at the 1 seed, the Dolphins at the 2, the Ravens at the 3, Jags at 4, Browns at 5, Texans at 6, and the Broncos at 7. A lot of this has to do with the remaining schedule. All right, the Chiefs, pretty easy remaining schedule coming down. They got a big one against the Bills this weekend, but um, apart from that, they have a relatively easy remaining strength of schedule. They're 8-4. Patrick Mahomes always puts it together at the end of the year. Andy Reid is too good of a coach. I think they're going to do it. The Dolphins also have a relatively easy schedule coming down the stretch. The Ravens, I think, drop a couple spots because they actually have a couple difficult games coming up in a row. I think they may win some, may lose some. You know, they're one of those teams that they're pretty good, but they just have given up so many fourth quarter leads that it's hard to be reliable on them, especially coming down the stretch. Then you have the Jaguars at the 4 seed. I think I did have the Texans there, but
Mm-hmm.
Jason convinced me to switch it after really digging into the schedules. Doesn't make much sense, even with Trevor Lawrence out potentially for the next couple weeks. I think the Browns turn it around. We have of the next 5 games, we have the Jags, Bears, Texans, Jets, and the Bengals. 3 of those should be easy wins. If Trevor Lawrence doesn't play this weekend, not an easy win, but definitely a doable game. I think we could go 4-1, finish 11-6, and really make a push coming down the stretch, get that 5 seed, turn around, have to play Jacksonville again in the playoffs. The Texans are too hot, dude. CJ Stroud is doing fantastic. A bad week for him was like last week where he threw only one touchdown, 0 picks, had a 105 passer rating, and threw for 300 yards. So it's pretty incredible what he's doing. And then the Broncos have a relatively easy rest of the schedule. They're 6-6, and they have a couple key wins against other teams that would propel them into that seventh spot. So this is what my AFC picture looks like. These are the reasons my AFC picture looks that way. And up next, we got Jason, who will tell you who and why his picks are the way they are.
All right, I have the Chiefs number 1, the Jags number 2, the Dolphins number 3, the Ravens number 4, the Texans number 5, the Browns number 6, and then the Bengals number 7. I,
Huh?
the
Huh?
Bengals. Listen, I'll do it in
Jake
reverse.
Browning in the
Since the most
playoffs?
controversial is at the end, let's do it in reverse. So number 7, I picked the Bengals because they have a pretty easy schedule coming up, and recency bias, but I think Jake Browning's the GOAT.
Greatest of all time, folks. Everybody heard it here first.
Greatest high school quarterback of all time
Listen,
in the NFL playoffs.
if Jake Browning can even play about half as well as he did for the rest of the games, they're going to win most of their games coming out, even half as good as he did. If you get a little bit more than that, easy breezy cover girl, you know. They're coming out and winning these games. 6th for the Browns. Browns again, I think have the best defense, and defense wins championships. So that defense is going to carry them to the playoffs. They're going to get a couple wins, but not next week though. Or this upcoming week. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Then the
probably not
Texans.
next week, but this week.
No, not on Sunday. You're not winning. All right. The Texans, we have again, like Ryan was saying, the hottest team right now. CJ Stroud's looking amazing. They don't have a hard schedule as well. They're going to pull out, but they ain't going to pull out enough games to pass the Jags for that number 1 spot in the division. Let's go AFC South champs. All right. Number 4, we have the Ravens. The Ravens dropped down from because again, like Ryan was saying, they have a couple hard games coming up. I think the Dolphins, Jags, and Chiefs all have easier schedules, and unfortunately, they're probably going to lose one of the games. They probably beat us in 2 weeks without Trevor Lawrence if he doesn't play. But they have some other tough games. The Dolphins probably the hottest team right now in the NFL, other than the 49ers. I think they come out and take a good, again, nice easy schedule. I think they have one tough game against. I'm gonna mess that up.
Who's this? The Dolphins?
The Dolphins.
They have
Dolphins have the Bills. The Dolphins have the that's pretty much it. Oh, Cowboys.
The
Cowboys and
Cowboys.
Ravens.
Oh,
Cowboys and
Cowboys, Ravens, or Bills to finish the
yeah. So
regular
this is why
I
I
thought
put the
they already
Jags
played
above
the
the
Ravens
Dolphins.
this year.
Mm.
Go ahead,
This
sorry.
is why I put the Jags above the Dolphins because of those few tough games. I do think they're going to sneak some of those wins out because again, the Tyreek Hill Tua combination right now is just looking unstoppable. But that being said, our number 2 team passes them because easy schedule. I mean, the last 3 games should be cakewalks. I'm hoping to pull out a victory this week against the Browns. I know we're going to pull the victory out this week. The Ravens probably the loss, so we go 4-1. I think that ends up with a better schedule than the Dolphins. Chiefs, easiest schedule probably out of every team that we just announced, and they have Patrick Mahomes. So they'll see.
Does the Browns winning this weekend change the Jaguars seeding? If the
They could.
Browns win?
I would
Could?
probably put them at 3.
Okay,
Above. I would probably put them at 3. Dolphins jump them.
fair.
Maybe the no, that would probably hurt the Ravens. I don't know. Well, they would get jumped. It might drop them to 4, but 3. We're gonna say 3.
But you're saying 4-1 coming down the stretch.
All right, let's also not forget, before we even got started here, Jason was contemplating putting the Jags in the 1 seed without Trevor Lawrence. So
No, pause. I said we could possibly make it to the 1 seed. We
Come on,
could
dog.
possibly make it to the 1
y'all
seed.
just lost to a
Look,
high school quarterback.
Oh me.
at least my team is in that picture.
Fair enough. Fair
All right.
enough.
I
And that's a great segue because I know that the team you're referring to is in this guy's playoff picture. So this right here is Jerry's AFC playoff picture. Jerry, tell us what you see.
All right, first of all, don't be talking smack about my team, dog. We're getting that 60 because we got the tiebreaker over the Browns. I think they both finish at 10-7. I think that's pretty set in stone. I think the Texans will also finish at 10-7, but they have the tiebreaker over both the Broncos, and if they beat the Browns, they'll have it over the Browns, which I think they will, because CJ Stroud is just balling out, man. I'm telling you, MVP. Not because I have a future on him though. And then of course the Jaguars at the 4 seed. If Trevor Lawrence is out for too long, there's just they might even lose that divisional spot or the divisional champ spot. If he is out for an extended period of time, I'm talking the next 3 weeks, it's in jeopardy. The Dolphins have a tough schedule coming up, and they have struggled a little bit against tough teams. And especially if they got to play the Ravens, who the Ravens have absolutely dominated very good teams. They came in, absolutely destroyed the Seahawks. I think the Ravens are going to take the 1 seed. I think we're kind of forgetting because they didn't play this weekend how good the Ravens are and how good they have been this season. A lot of people had them in their number 1 power rankings, a couple weeks ago. Then they had that game against the Chargers on Sunday night and kind of dropped the ball a little bit. Still got the dub.
Whoa. That's not why they lost their number 1 power ranking spot, buddy. We all know who they lost to that took them from the number 1 power ranking spot to like number 4, and that's the Cleveland Browns.
Fair enough. All right, they're still gonna get the 1 seed. Then you got the Chiefs at 2 because the Chiefs just have not looked strong enough to get that 1 seed. Yeah, and they're sitting at 8-4. They're a game behind both the Ravens and the Dolphins, so I just don't see them. Making a push. I honestly don't think the Chiefs are. They're not the Super Bowl team that they were last year. They've lost a couple of key pieces. Their wide receivers suck, man. They cannot catch the ball. And a lot of defenses have figured out if you can shut down Travis Kelce, you pretty much are putting it all on Patrick Mahomes because his receivers can't bail him out, which he will get his and he'll make plays here and there. But if Travis Kelce isn't in the game, then they're pretty stagnant on offense. And it's happy for me to see.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
I'm sure it is. Now, do the Broncos do they have to get to 10 wins to make it in? Is that your
I think that's the threshold for the 7 seed. I think all 3 wildcard teams are going to be 10 wins, maybe 11, honestly, with the Texans. But I think that is the threshold for the 7 seed in the AFC.
So the Broncos have to win 4 of their next 5.
Yep. Which it's doable. Their schedule's not that tough.
Now you got Chargers, Lions, Patriots, Chargers, Raiders.
Yeah.
The problem is you got to win. You got to most likely the Lions is the game because it's in Detroit. That's the game that you probably drop. So you have to go 3-0 in divisional games in the next 5 weeks. So that's the hard part, but it's doable. It's definitely doable.
It's there.
I
gotta hold out hope, man. I gotta hold out hope.
Absolutely, you do. Absolutely. So these have been all of our AFC playoff picks. Let's take a look at what the current NFC structure looks like. Right now we have the Eagles at 1, the 49ers at 2, the Lions at 3, Falcons 6-6, still getting a home playoff game. Crazy. Cowboys at 5, Vikings at 6, and the Packers at 7. So this would mean that the 49ers would play the Packers, the Lions would play the Vikings, and the Falcons would play the Cowboys with the Eagles on a bye. Let's take a look at what the real NFC playoff picture is going to look like coming down the stretch. We'll start with mine. At number 1, the 49ers. The reason they're number 1, they just absolutely smoked the Eagles. And I do think the Eagles at least lose one more game, put them even. And I think the 49ers, with that tiebreaker, they take the 1. I think the 49ers maybe only lose one more game this season, max. The Lions at 3, the Eagles at 2, simply for that exact reason. The Lions at 3, they've been playing very well. They know how to win close. The problem is when they get big leads, they let teams kind of sneak their way back in. But at this moment in time, I don't see why they wouldn't be that 3 seed, because there's no way someone from the NFC South is going to take that 3 spot from them. The Buccaneers, I think, actually end up winning the NFC South. The Atlanta Falcons right now hold that spot, but they play this weekend. Winner will take the driving seat in the division. The Buccaneers don't have a ton of great teams left on the schedule. One of them, again, includes the Panthers, again, which you can automatically chalk that up as a W. Cowboys at 5. I just don't think they'll be able to pass the Eagles to take the divisional spot, but they're one of the top 5, 6 teams in the NFL right now. They're fantastic. And then the kind of two teams are sliding into that spot are the Packers and the Rams. The Packers remaining schedule relatively easy, and in the last 3 games, Jordan Love has been absolutely dicing up defenses. He's thrown 8 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a 116 passer rating over the last 3 weeks, and his weapons are starting to actually look like real wide receivers finally. So the Packers seem to be catching their stride. I wouldn't be surprised if they win 4 or 5 game, 4, 3, 4, 5 games coming down the stretch, and make it into that 6 seed. And then the Rams, I think they showed this weekend that Matt Stafford is not, washed up. Aaron Donald is not washed up. They got the best rookie receiver who's only 440 yards away from passing the all-time rookie receiving record. So I really think that the Rams are another one of those teams that are kind of like on this trajectory. The teams that I think that
Hmm.
the Vikings right now have it, but I think they're kind of on the reverse side. They're on the downward slope. I think these two teams kind of slide into that spot.
What
But
about the Seahawks?
the Seahawks also, I mean, they've lost 2 of the last 3 games. So I just don't see them being able to recover, especially with 2 losses to the Rams. So the Rams automatically in over them. They would have to have a better record than them. And the Rams have an easier schedule coming down the stretch. But this is what my NFC playoff picture looks like. I mean, it's probably going to happen this way, but others may disagree. We'll take a look next at Jason's. Jason, what do you think is that NFC going to look like?
Hi, I am others. So, I think the Eagles and the 49ers are going to have the same record for the rest of the games coming out. I just think both teams are going to probably get one more loss. So I think just record-wise, Eagles are going to be able to um, sneak that number 1 spot. 49ers, I, for the longest, have had the Eagles as AFC or NFC champions. I think the 49ers are now the favorite by far. It's not even close. So that's why they get the 2nd spot. If they had one, if they end up with the same record, obviously the 49ers are going to have the um, tiebreaker. But even if the tiebreaker didn't exist, I would choose the 49ers over the Eagles. But that being said, one more loss. For the Lions, I think the Lions kind of are on my suspect list. In my opinion, I don't think they played the best games the last 3 weeks. That being said, I just think they win enough games to. There's no one else that's going to take over their spot. The Falcons, I think the Falcons have a easier schedule than the Buccaneers, in my opinion. And it's just honestly, we flex games. Can we flex conferences? Because no one in that conference deserves to make the playoffs. To be honest,
Yeah, treat
It's going to be
treat them like
back.
Florida State. Get them out of there.
Literally
honestly, get them out of there.
back to back years where no one, like, we don't know. They're 6-6 right now, but I could very much see that nobody in that division has a winning record, yet one of them has to make the playoffs.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. But they are the lucky ones, in my opinion. The Cowboys probably the 4th best team in the division, maybe even the 3rd, in my opinion. That being said, I think they're just going to win enough games to make it. I mean, no one else, again, record-wise, I don't think is going to have a chance to pass them for that 5th spot. Packers, like you said, Jordan Love is playing amazing. I think he's going to carry them into the playoffs just off his play alone. Hopefully, maybe they get, I don't know how long Aaron Jones is out for, but maybe they get him back in time. The Seahawks, I don't think the Seahawks, I'm going to disagree. I think the Seahawks record are, sorry, I think the Seahawks go over the Rams. I think they win more games towards the end of the season. I think their team is better than the Rams team. Now, that being said, you have the better offense
They
probably
just
with
lost
the
twice
Rams.
to the Rams this year.
Chill. Just because, hey, look, some people are built to beat other people. All right. So some people are built to win other games. I don't think the Rams have been as consistent as the Seahawks have. Now, like you said, they have beat them twice. I just think the Seahawks are going to end up with more wins. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, it's a good story. It's not as good as mine because it's, not mine, but it's still a good story. We had most of the same teams, only the Falcons, Seahawks different, couple different seeding things, but for the most part, pretty much the same. And that's kind of the difference between the NFC and the AFC. The AFC is all these teams that are kind of better than mediocre, all fighting for these spots. The NFC is like we got about four teams that are good. Everyone else sucks. So you
Yep.
can guarantee the Eagles, Niners, Lions, and Cowboys are going to be in that
Yeah.
second round pretty much right now. So, but those were Jason's NFC playoff picture. Jerry, what sort of differences do you have in yours?
Yeah, so Ryan, mine and yours were very similar. The only difference I have is that the Falcons win the division over the Bucks. I think the Falcons are putting something together. Arthur Smith is figuring out how to utilize his weapons that he has in Drake London and Bijan and Kyle Pitts.
Oh, I
Um,
have five or four first round draft picks
yeah,
on offense.
it's
Maybe I should start using.
crazy. He had a quote earlier this year. Somebody asked him why he's not using Bijan Robinson as much, and he said that Bijan Robinson's ability to make plays away from the play without the ball is special. How about his ability to make plays with the ball? It's
Look,
you spend
He's
a
a
first
decoy
round
dog.
pick on a decoy.
Decoy.
What are you doing?
Decoy, dude. We're decoying Drake. We're decoying Kyle Pitts. We're decoying Bijan Robinson. Give that ball to Algier, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
this is a game of football. This isn't like basketball where you can have some fancy guy running in the back. No, this is football. Give your best player the ball and let him go. Like, come on now.
Yeah. But no, I think starting from the top, the 49ers, I think the 49ers do take that one seed. The Eagles, they got a couple of tough games coming up against the Cowboys and the Seahawks, but the rest of their schedule is pretty easy. 2 games against the Giants and then 1 against the Cardinals. I think they dropped the game to the Cowboys this week, and I think the 49ers end up winning out, and that's what gives the 49ers the 1 seed. The Lions, you guys already said it, kind of suspect. They put up 21 points in the first quarter this week against the Saints, and then broke a guy's leg on the chain gang, and then the Saints clawed back. So yeah, that was gross. By the way, I don't know if
That
you
was-
guys saw that.
Nasty.
Watch with care. Already explained the Falcons getting the NFC South poop division title. Then the Cowboys would not be surprised if the Cowboys make a run for that division. If the Eagles falter in one of their last games, Cowboys win one game here against the Eagles. I know the Cowboys have a tough schedule, tougher than the Eagles, but if they can put some wins together, they're only one game back of the Eagles in the division right now. Anything can happen. It's the NFL. And then probably the worst take I've ever had, calling Jordan Love a bad quarterback. He's not a bad quarterback. He's playing really well. He absolutely balled out against the Chiefs on Sunday night. They're sneaking into that 6th seed. Going to take out the Lions in the playoffs, maybe? Maybe.
Nah.
They did it once.
Yeah, but that's Thanksgiving.
They're cursed for Thanksgiving.
That is Thanksgiving, dog. Lions have won one game in the last 11 years.
Counterpoint, how many playoff games have they won in the last 11 years?
Counterpoint. The Packers don't have Aaron Rodgers, so you can't compare playoff records.
All right, we'll see what happens when we get there. And then the
Jared
Rams.
Goff has more playoff wins than Jordan Love. So
All right. Well,
Nice.
we'll see about it. All right, the Rams, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua. That's one heck of a duo over there in LA. They are. There's some good dudes over there. Matthew Stafford, he's playing like he was playing when he had Calvin Johnson on the team. Man, he's slinging it. So we'll see what happens. I think it's gonna get interesting down the stretch. That 7 seed is wide open. But yeah, I think the top 5 teams are pretty much set this year in the NFC.
Hey, question.
Answer.
Would you rather have Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, or DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith and Jibba?
Cooper Cup and Puka Nacua. You're talking
Yeah,
about the latest Triple Crown winner and likely the rookie uh, receiving yards leaders against a guy with a terrible shuttle score.
Okay.
you like that.
Okay. Oh, here we go again.
A guy that didn't play his last year at OSU and Tyler Lockett. So, no, it's a good question. Both good receiving cores. I trust Matthew Stafford over Geno Smith. So,
Agreed.
Yeah,
Agreed.
that's the deciding factor for me too.
but Jerry, I like your NFC playoff picture. It's almost correct, minus that 4th seed you got there. But other than that, I think pretty much perfect. But as you can see, guys, these are what the playoff picture might look like. Things may change. Who knows? It's going to be exciting coming down the stretch. But for our next segment, we return to something that we've been doing since we started this podcast. It's our NFL power rankings. And remember, these are the power rankings. We do it like unlike anybody else. This isn't some committee with 13 people that sit in a room that don't care about or watch football and just arbitrarily decide because some divisions are better than others that they should be in over.
Because
No,
it makes them money.
this this is decided by 3 different aggregate scores. Put it in the machine. It shakes it up. Computer spits it out. These are the power rankings. So starting at the bottom of the NFL, we have the Panthers at 32, the Patriots at 31, the Jets at 30, Commanders at 29, Cardinals at 28, Giants at 27, Bears at 26, and the Titans sitting at 25. All of these teams are garbage. It is basically a race for who's going to get that first pick in the NFL draft. Jason, do the Bears get it from the Panthers, or are the Patriots just bad enough to steal that number 1 pick?
If anyone loses to the Panthers, they need to fire their coach and cut their whole team. So
Except
it's
for
going
the
to
D'Amico Ryans.
be true. True. That was a way back in the day.
It's
They
an
were working
anomaly.
things out. That doesn't
That's when
count.
they had the Third Reich coaching, It's
From
like,
here on, if anyone loses to the Panthers, they need to cut their coach.
fair enough. Fair enough. Moving on to the next set of rankings. We got the Raiders at 24, Chargers at 23, Saints at 22, Buccaneers at 21, Falcons at 20, Rams at 19, Vikings at 18, 17 is the Bengals. Now, Jerry, you and I both have the Rams making it into the playoffs above a Seattle team that we currently have power ranked higher. What about this Rams team do you think gives them the ability to make a run down the stretch?
We just alluded to it. They have a Super Bowl winning quarterback in Matthew Stafford. He is playing lights out. I mean, I know Puka Nacua was injured, came back in. But man, if those guys can stay healthy with the way that they're playing, they look virtually unstoppable on offense. Their defense is a little suspect at times. Aaron Donald's getting a little older now. He's still playing lights out as well. He's still one of the best defensive players, if not the best defensive player of all time. But man, when you got experience at the quarterback position with Matthew Stafford, you better be ready to make a playoff run because them boys are coming.
Absolutely. Yeah, I probably should have put another team for you to talk about, considering we just did talk about the Rams. But I think that it's important to reiterate that, yeah, while we do, like, our playoffs aren't just picked on who we think are the best teams right now, it's who we think has the best chance to make it in the playoffs. And we both picked the Rams because they have that quarterback coming down the stretch, but they also have a 2-game tiebreaker, 2 wins over the Seattle Seahawks. That would, if they finish with the same record, put them in over. So that's kind
Yeah.
of what I was alluding to about, why they're sitting at 19, but we still have them in the playoffs. But yeah, 100%. I think Matthew Stafford, Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nakua, those 4 guys right there give you a great opportunity to make a run down the
And one
stretch.
more quick point. The Seahawks kind of did this same thing last year where they got super hot at the beginning of the year, right? They started
Mhm.
5-2. And then they kind of falter at the end. They ended up missing the playoffs last year because they just couldn't string together wins.
Right.
If the Rams continue this streak and stay hot until the end of the year, I mean, that's the best time for a team to get hot, right? Is when you're making that playoff push. And I think the Rams are a team that can do that.
Absolutely. 100%. Moving into this kind of second tier of teams, we have the Steelers dropping all the way down to 16. Biggest movers. They stink. We hate them. No, I'm just kidding. I hate them. Nobody else in here actually hates them. But the Steelers dropped 5 spots. The Seahawks at 15, the Bills at 14, Packers at 13, Broncos at 12, Colts at 11, the Browns at 10, and the Texans at 9. The Browns here have dropped several spots over the last 2 weeks. They've dropped a total of 5 spots total. They were number 5. Now they're back at number 10. We're on our 4th quarterback this season. We don't have a starting tackle. Okay, we're on our backup right and left tackle. Nick Chubb out for the season. Amari Cooper right now in concussion protocol. DTR, backup quarterback, in concussion protocol. We're relying on the arm of Joe Flacco, who did look pretty decent last week, but who knows where that's going to go. Myles Garrett is partially injured. Denzel Ward's been out of the lineup at the last few weeks. Anthony Walker has been coming in and off of the injury report for the last several weeks as well. So we basically, everyone on our team's hurt. We are still able, if you look at the season in quarters, this third quarter, we're about to enter the last quarter of the season. This third quarter, we're still 2-2. We have wins over the Ravens and the Steelers, which are great wins in the division in the AFC. But we're gonna have to really turn it around the next few weeks. We got to win 3 of the next 5, I think, to make it to the playoffs. Got a good shot of that. So Texans at 9, moving into the top 8 teams in the NFL. These are the top 8 teams, folks. Like, bar none. This is the 8. Number 8, Jacksonville. Number 7, the Cowboys. Number 6, the Lions. 5, Chiefs. Dolphins at 4. Ravens at 3. Eagles at 2. And the 49ers at 1. I think all of us unanimously put the 49ers there at number 1. But the Jaguars fell all the way back to number 8. Jason, do you think that does number 8, is that indicative of without Trevor Lawrence, they're number 8, or is that just you think there's a couple things that need to be addressed moving forward? Because I know you have them as your 2 seed.
But no, 100%. It was Trevor Lawrence
Okay.
coming out. I think I put them at 8 specifically as well.
You did.
Yeah. Okay. So I
Yeah,
put
I
them
did
at
too.
8. I mean, it was 100% because Trevor Lawrence is out for the next 2 weeks. This is more of a power ranking. So how are they going to play this week coming up? Are they going to be able to win the game? Yeah, they'll be able to win the game. Uh, but it's going to be tough. I do like our chances with Doug Peterson as our offensive mind. He's a good creator of plays and knows game flow pretty well. So I think we'll be able to put something together, but it's going to be really hard to beat that defense without our starting quarterback. So that is why they dropped to 8 for me.
And with the Niners taking that number 1 spot, clearly when you destroy our previous week's number 1 team by double digit points in their home field, scoring 42 points on them, you take number 1, right, Jerry?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Eagles have been in the 1 spot basically since the Niners went on that 3-game losing streak. And then the 49ers got a little bit of redemption this weekend. We alluded to it earlier. Christian McCaffrey, Debo Samuel. I mean, when that team is fully healthy, they're just unstoppable. They are a well-oiled machine. It's kind of gross to watch, honestly. I know Brock Purdy's in the MVP conversation, and people are talking about, oh, he's only, he's throwing screen passes to Debo Samuel, who's running for 50 yards. I don't give a damn. if that's your style of offense and that's what works, it, run with it. That's what Kyle Shanahan does.
Rock and roll. That's right. 49ers at number 1. These are the NFL power rankings. Don't forget about it. Any other power rankings are incorrect. These
Facts.
are the correct ones. Moving forward, we got Thursday night football. Patriots traveling to Acrisure, Heinz former field, whatever it is now,
The
to play
ketchup
the
bowl.
Steelers, the Ketchup Bowl. Patriots 6-point dogs on the road in Pittsburgh. Good lord, I can't think to myself right now. Probably going to be a really boring game. You got Mitchell Trubisky starting at quarterback against a actually very good defense in uh, the Patriots, and you have the Steelers who suck on offense. So what are they going to do? But they have a great defense going against probably the worst offense in the NFL. It's going to be one of the worst Thursday night games of the year, but that doesn't stop us. So, Jason, what do you think about this game? What is sort of the things you're looking for? Do you think the Patriots, really try and keep losing to try and steal that number 1 draft pick, or do you think the Steelers drop another one to a bad team?
Yeah, there's no way the Steelers lose this game. The Patriots, I think, have been, I don't know, like 1A, 1B for the worst teams have been the Patriots and the Panthers. Like it's been terrible to watch any of their games. There's no offense, there's no creativity. I could honestly, you could really just say this about both teams. Like it's not going to
Yeah.
be a fun game to watch. But that being said, I think Mitchell Trubisky somehow is still better than whatever quarterback the Patriots have on their team.
The Zap attack.
Yikes. Um, Actually, Bailey Zapke, one of the best college quarterback stats. Maybe he'll become like Jake Browning.
Maybe he
No.
will. Probably not. Probably not. Who you got? Steelers or Patriots?
Steelers.
Jerry, who you got? Steelers or Patriots?
Steelers. They kind of get a pass last week because at least Kyler Murray knows how to play the quarterback position and he's pretty dynamic. Dude,
Give
if Bailey
me
Zappi becomes Jake Browning, if Bailey Zappi has over 200 yards this week, I don't even know what to think about the NFL anymore because that offense is they don't know what they're doing. At
listen,
least
lock
Jake
it in.
Browning has weapons around him. He has
Yeah,
Jamar
they
Chase,
don't have.
T. Higgins, Joe Mixon. He can put up
Hey,
350 on an injured Jags defense.
Zeke. I'm just
Listen,
kidding.
exactly.
No,
Listen up.
Feed
no,
him.
Listen
no.
up. Patriots are going to come into town. They're going to push the Steelers around. They're going to say, listen, Bill Belichick's in town. We're going up against a backup quarterback. You guys ain't scoring a point. And they get a lucky turnover and 3 points. Final score 3-0. Patriots win. Steelers lose.
All right, over or under 30 and a half.
Under.
Under
Listen,
100%.
absolutely signed, seal. Like, that is by the way, I think the
How do
Jags
they get
Browns
30
game is
now?
that low as well. But yeah, it's hit the under. I don't even
Yeah,
know how they got to 30.
That's what I'm saying. What?
Crush the under on that one.
crazy Big Ten West matchup this week.
Absolutely. But that brings us to our favorite segment. A segment that lost a little bit of luster last week because our best player out on IR. But he's back this week. He's back for the moonshot bet. We're 0-4. We're 0-4. But that just means this week we about to be 1-4. Jason, what do you got for us?
Look,
Last week.
a smart better, a smart better would say never bet on two bad teams. We ain't got none of that over here, all right? We ain't got none of that over here. We 20,000 odds was it last time? 2 weeks ago. Then we go to 10,000. Then we go to 3,000. We get to 3,000. We are one leg off. Honestly, we are one play off. There's a catch for 6 yards by Tony Pollard that he should have. And then we hit for the first time this week. We didn't get it. So you know what we do? We up the ante and we go to 7,000. and 125. All right, hear me out.
Gosh.
We got Pat Fryermuth, 25 plus yards receiving. Mitchell Trubisky, the quarterback, is a bum. He needs to throw to his tight end because he ain't got nothing else to do. Check. George Pickens, 25 yards, big body. Who else you gonna throw it to? Lob him up there. 25 plus yards. Mitchell Trubisky over 0.05 touchdowns. He's going to get one. If you look at his last games that he's played, he's gotten one. Against the Jags, he got one. Did he throw 2 interceptions with that? Absolutely. Does it matter? As long as he throws 1 touchdown. All right. Jalen Warren, anytime touchdown. Easy money. Look, Jalen Warren only has 3 touchdowns this season. It don't matter, you know? They switch back and forth between running backs. It
Not
don't
this
matter.
week. Najee Harris on the injury report this week.
Can you let me talk? I was getting there.
Oh,
All right.
sorry about that, Chief.
They go back and forth between running backs. This week, Jalen Warren's the guy, all right? He's going to get that anytime touchdown. And you know who else is going to? His counterpart on the other side of the field, Ezekiel Feedham Elliott. Check. Easy anytime touchdown. Jalen Warren, 56.5 rushing yards. They're honestly, let me just be truthful. There's literally nothing else to bet for. They didn't give me any reception props. None. So Jalen Warren is the guy this week, and he's gonna get them yards. Deontay Johnson, 40 plus yards. Check. All right. Deontay Johnson, Trubisky's favorite weapon. Maybe. You know what? Actually, yes. Let me science this for you. Deontay Johnson usually lines up on the right side. You know where Trubisky can't throw the ball?
His left.
His left.
Oh
So
my.
20 plus yards, baby. Let's go. 7,000. We hit this week on a miracle. For sure.
Let's get it. Let's get it.
Dog, if you're betting on this game, you got to call the number.
Remember, gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. That is 1-800-GAMBLER.
And I
This has
know,
been
I
Jason.
know we're all betting on it, so we're all going to call the number. But let's roll with it.
I got it on speed dial. This has been Jason's Moonshot Bet. We're hitting this week, folks. It's already guaranteed. It makes sense because we've had a couple good games. We've had a couple good matchups. You know, you're thinking, oh, we're definitely hitting. We're definitely hitting. We've been close. So close. Now we got 2 terrible teams. The luck's about to turn around. We hitting. Let's roll.
To the moon.
To the moon.
To the moon. That wraps up the Thursday, but what about Sunday? Well, we got a couple other big time matchups. Up first, we got the Buccaneers taking on the Falcons. Baker Mayfield just had a baby. So, does that mean anything? Probably not. Winner of this game takes first place in the NFC South. Jerry, what do you think about these teams and who wins this game?
Well, I was going to say the Falcons before we got on air because I like that Arthur Smith has gone to his weapons.
Not
But
so
then-
fast, my friend.
There's the Lee Corso for the week. But I was informed by my friend Ryan that Baker Mayfield is expecting a baby this week. So I'm hammering every single over that Baker Mayfield has got this week. That dude is going to ball out for his kid. He's going to say, are they having the baby this weekend? Is that the
No.
expectation?
No, they just are announcing it.
Hmm.
They just announced it.
Not the anytime touchdown, though.
Yeah, still taking his over on yards and passing touchdowns. And his over on turnovers, but whatever. Yeah,
That
that's
doesn't
fine.
matter.
Nah, the Buccaneers. Yeah, I think I'm gonna take the Bucs in this game. I like that. I like that Baker Mayfield is having a baby. That is literally the only reason I would take the Bucs in this game, because Baker Mayfield is expecting a baby. Only reason I want it out
That's
there.
a great reason.
Yeah.
That's a great reason. Listen, the Cardinals beat the Steelers. Well, I mean, you pick any team for any game, come up with any reason, it's just as likely to happen. Next game, big matchup in the AFC. We have the Jags in Cleveland. All three of us will be at that game. Browns are 3-point favorites. We're not going to talk much about this one because we're actually going to be posting a vlog of our time there in Cleveland watching the Browns game, as well as Saturday watching the Heisman ceremony. So join us. Remember, we are at Unnamed Sports S. Watch our vlog. Tell us how cool we look. Go Browns.
Go Jags.
There you go.
That was way too delayed. No confidence.
Yeah. Yep. Browns confirmed. Next game, Bills at Chiefs, kind of in the middle of this gauntlet for the Bills. Chiefs only 1.5 point favorites at home against the Bills. Jason, what about this matchup is intriguing to you? Who wins? What are your thoughts?
I'm gonna go with the Bills. I think the Bills are stacking wins. They're getting close. That last game with the Eagles, the last game with the Eagles, unfortunate play at the end of the game. I think Josh Allen is actually playing like a good quarterback. You heard it here first. All right, I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. I have been wrong about Josh Allen. While he has made some bad decisions, I think he is carrying this team even with the 6-6 record that they have.
That's fair. That's fair. I laughed because Jerry gave you a look, but I totally agree with your assessment. I think actually the Chiefs, even though I have them at my 1 seed, which this might be contradicting, and that's okay. I think the Bills actually find a way to win this one. So, gonna be a tight one. Sunday night football, the last big matchup of the weekend. We have the Eagles at the Cowboys. Cowboys 3.5 point favorites at home, undefeated at home this year. But the Cowboys still have not beat a team with an above 500 record. They've beat two teams with 500 records, but no team above 500. So it'll be interesting.
Weren't the Seahawks
Doesn't
above
matter what they
500 when
are
they
now.
won?
It doesn't matter what they were then. It matters what they are now,
Okay, fair,
right?
fair.
That's yeah.
Is that not how that works?
Yeah, sure.
That's how it works. They've beaten the Rams and the Seahawks, but neither team right now has a winning record. The Seahawks were 6-5 when they played, but 6-6 after they beat them. So technically, not above 500. Jerry,
Lawyered.
where's this one going? Yeah, exactly. Lawyered. Cowboys 3.5 point favorites haven't lost at home. They are at home. Eagles coming off a massive loss. Do the Cowboys take it to the Eagles? Do they get one step closer to winning the NFC? Or I'm sorry, yeah, NFC. What is that? East.
Yeah.
So weird
NFC
because they're
East.
in Dallas, but they're in the NFC East.
Yeah.
To winning the NFC East and maybe even make it a run at that number 1 seed.
No, I think the Eagles absolutely getting pumped by the 49ers is the worst thing the Cowboys could have wished for, because now Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni and Jalen Carter and Fletcher Cox, those guys got a fire underneath of them, and they want to come out and absolutely ball this week. AJ Brown, I don't care about Deron Bland's pick six interception record this year. Whatever. AJ Brown is going to put him to work. I'm telling you, he's gonna have one play this week, double covered in the end zone, and he's just gonna moss both of them. Jalen Hurts is gonna put it up there and he's gonna go get it. It's gonna be a good game. Don't get me wrong. It is gonna be a good game. Dak Prescott is playing at an MVP level right now. He's having a really solid year. He's kind of shut up all the haters. Everybody was saying, oh, he's throws a ton of interceptions. He's leading the league in picks, whatever. Not this year. He's having a really good year. Glad he's my fantasy quarterback going into the last week of the regular season. But I got to give it to the Eagles. I think they're gonna put it together. I think they're gonna bounce back from that absolute pumping last week by the 49ers, and I think they're gonna get one on the road and ruin the Cowboys' undefeated home record. And taking the over too, by the way.
Oh, there you go. 51.5 hitting the over. That's a lot of points.
I agree.
It will be, hopefully, a great game. And like you just said, that would be massive for the Eagles to be able to beat the Cowboys at home. Those are the matchups on Sunday. But we're going to do a new segment here. We're going to start talking a little bit more about fantasy football. We're coming towards the end of the season. Are you in the playoffs? Are you not? Are you like me in one of my leagues where you're absolutely unequivocally dominating, or are you like my other league where I've already been eliminated from playoff contention? We're going to do a little stardom, sit them, and we'll start. I guess we'll start with me. I don't know what order
You?
Jerry has him in. No, not me.
Oh, I
We'll
didn't
start
make
with you.
graphics for this. We're just gonna talk about it.
We're just talking.
We're just
We're
free.
just talking.
Just let it fly,
You know,
baby.
Let
Just
it
let it
fly. Well,
fly.
take a
actually,
shot.
let's start with Jason then. Jason, who's your stardom and
Are you
who's
really?
your situm?
All right, listen. I just want this to be known. My stardom was stolen by Red. Okay. Now, my stardom for this week is a homegrown Parker Washington, wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the reason you want to start him is because Christian Kirk is out for the foreseeable future, maybe makes it back in the playoffs. But for the rest of the regular season, you have a guy that is probably looking at probably 4 to 6 targets each week. Last game had 6 targets, 6 catches for 61 yards. Yikes. And a touchdown. I think in our offense, we do very well with slot guys. Our setting up plays for the quicker guy. Zay Jones, I don't think it's putting Parker Washington and Christian Kirk's spot is basically the same thing as having Christian Kirk out there. I think Zay Jones only gets really the big targets when we're in the red zone. Evan Ingram obviously is probably still the number one target guy, but you have 4 to 6 targets that sneak out, and I think Parker Washington's the guy to grab those. So my stardom guy. My situm
Who's your
guy
situm?
is Robert Woods for the opposite reason. Oh, oh
Huh?
no, Tank Dell is out. Oh, which receiver is the Texans going to throw to? Well, let me tell you what, it's not going to be Robert Woods. Was it Robert Woods when Nico Collins was out? Nope. Guess who it was? Noah Brown. OHIO. And I believe it will still be Noah Brown looking for those targets. So also their tight ends got an uptake in targets when Nico Collins was out. So I would stay away from Robert Wood if I were you. And that's my stardom and situm of the week.
I like it. I like it a lot. Uh, Jerry, who's your stardom situm for the week?
My stardom is gonna be Kenneth Gainwell, running back for the Philadelphia Eagles. DeAndre Swift went down last week. Got
No
absolutely
way.
crushed. Absolutely crushed. Late against the Niners. He might not be going, even if he is. He's questionable. He's gonna be injured a little bit. So Kenneth Gainwell is gonna see an uptick in carries and receptions out of the backfield. He's really good out of the backfield in passing situations. He caught 4 passes for 20 yards in the Super Bowl, along with 4 carries for 21 yards. So looking at about 8 points right there as a solid flex option. And Hurts is going to be forced to throw the ball. If he even plays. If he doesn't play, you're going to be looking at Marcus Mariota coming in, who likes to get his ball to the running back in a check down scenario. So you're looking at even more targets from my boy Kenneth Gainwell. I like Gainwell this week. If Swift isn't going, I like Gainwell. My
I like
situm,
it.
I know you gave him an anytime touchdown on the moonshot. Ezekiel Elliott, running back for the Patriots. Sit that man. He is so washed up. He's eating too much, man. You got to stop feeding that man. He had 17 carries this week when Ramondre Stevenson went down as the premier back. And he only put up 52 yards on 17 carries. If he was in Dallas behind a good offensive line, sure. But that Patriots offensive line is not good. Patriots have the 11th worst rush offense this year, going up against a pretty solid Steelers defense. And again, fire Bill Belichick. Just fire the man. Get him out of there. Put him out of his misery.
Oof. Well, the disrespect, but I still like your options for the stardom situm. But if you're really serious about fantasy football and you have either of these two individuals, I say one of them's not really an individual, one of them's a team, but we'll get to that in a second. The real stardom situms for the weekend we have for starting, you want to start Brandon Cooks. If you haven't noticed, the last 4 weeks he's been going off. He's averaging 18 points per game the last 4 weeks, and that's with one stinker where he only got 7 points. He's really hitting those 20s pretty much every week. And a lot of it has to do with CD Lamb being so productive and these defenses double covering. Philadelphia has one of the worst defenses, not worst defenses, but one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. Couple that with Dak Prescott right now looking like a true MVP caliber player. Brandon Cooks, better start him. My sit him for the week. A little bit surprising. This is a top 10 defense. The Jets. Don't start them. They're playing the Houston Texans right now. The Texans are averaging, they're sixth in yards per game. They're 10th in points per game. But the real kicker is they're fifth best in giveaways. They do not turn the ball over. And that's a lot of time where a lot of your points are coming for on defense. Also, the Jets are in complete turmoil on offense. They're going to be punting the ball a lot. They're going to be turning the ball over a lot. That's going to give Houston a lot more opportunities to score points and to, again, basically take points away from the defense. So I would sit the Jets. I would find if Houston's defense is available because they're playing the Jets, I might take them. The Steelers' defense is likely not available because they're playing the Patriots. That's the other one that I would switch them out for. But yes, sit the Jets defense. And this has been our stardom sit 'em for the week. Also, Jason, real quick, you say I stole them. Get to the Google Doc faster. That's all I got to say.
Too slow.
That's
Next
all
week.
I got
Next week for
to
sure.
say.
He's already on it, typing up a stardom sit for next week.
He's like, nah, I ain't missing.
I see the future. I'm predicting the next person to get hurt and then putting them in it. It's no biggie.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Well, this has been our NFL talk this week. Lots of great games coming down the stretch. It's going to be really exciting to see how our power rankings change, how the matchups affect the playoff picture, and which teams can really find a way to win and anchor themselves in good positions to be in the playoffs. Moving on, switching gears a little bit. Let's start talking a little bit about college football. We got the Heisman. The finalists have been announced. The Heisman will be announced on Saturday. The four finalists are Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix Jr. Oh, nice graphic. Dang.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ooh,
Okay.
ooh, that's
Bo
fire.
Nix
Yes, sir.
and Marvin Harrison Jr. I think all three of us have after having talked to you guys, all agree on who should be, but the odds say otherwise. Jason, why is Jaden Daniels ahead of Michael Penix Jr. to win this award?
Because he can run the football. All right, but let me tell you what's really going on. Okay, in my opinion, Jaden Daniels has looked the best. He has the most accounted for touchdowns from the quarterbacks. He's ran for 1,000 yards, threw for about 3,800. I think that's why he's ahead. But from every other Heisman candidate I've ever seen in the past, they've had a winning team. Lamar Jackson might be the little exception, but during that year, no one else has looked even near as good. From every Heisman winner I've seen in the past, they've had that one winning game, and that's what's defined their Heisman race. You look at RG3. Andrew Luck should have won the Heisman that year. Why did RG3 win it? Because he had that one game, and he does the Heisman pose, and then he wins the Heisman. You look at Christian McCaffrey should have won a Heisman. Why didn't he win a Heisman? Because Alabama had that last very good victory, and their running back, Derrick Henry, wins the Heisman. In my opinion, the Heisman is more of a winning stat than more of a who's actually been the best player, right? I think a lot of the times previously, again, I'm repeating myself a little bit, but it's always been that special game where they come play another top 10 team, and then they pose and they say, give me the Heisman, and then they win the Heisman. So I think Jaden Daniels is a great player. Don't get me wrong; he just looked fantastic. I just don't think, from what I know and what I've seen from other Heisman winners, that he's going to win. He's going to win the Heisman. I think it's going to be Penix.
Gary, kind of going off of what Jason said, what do you think about Jaden Daniels being that leader as far as the odds makers go versus Michael Penix, who's led a Washington team who is predicted to win 8 games this year, to winning the last year of the Pac-12, beating Oregon twice, Bo Nix, the other finalist, beating him twice, and making it into the college football playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the stats, there's no denying, the facts are the facts. Jane Daniels has put up more yards, more touchdowns than Michael Penix this year.
And more
But
L's.
yeah, exactly. I mean, when you're a 3-loss team, it it doesn't make any sense why. I think Jane Daniels was like minus 1,400 after
Yeah.
Friday night. Doesn't make any sense. How can you not give it to the guy that you just said it, went undefeated, led his team to a college football playoff, beat the at the time Heisman favorite and Bo Nix twice, not once but twice this year. Absolutely outdueled him. It makes absolutely no sense. Jaden Daniels is a heck of a player, and sorry to the Ohio State guys. Marvin Harrison Jr. just isn't winning it this year. It's a quarterback award. Good to see Marvin Harrison Jr. in there for him getting his. He deserves to be in that conversation. But I know all three of us put in a bet when we saw Michael Penix Jr. like plus 1,200 plus 1,000 odds. There's no way they cannot give it to Michael Penix this year.
And the problem is they're probably not going to. There's this SEC bias that it just exists throughout college football, and it's showing up in other places as well. Look at that segue.
Ooh,
What the heck?
nice,
How
nice.
does Florida State not make the college football playoff? Alabama comes in and they beat, again, another SEC team, which number one team, 29 games straight. Massive win streak. Don't get me wrong. Number one team, back to back national champions. Absolutely incredible job by Alabama. And funny enough, the last time Georgia had lost prior to this SEC championship was to Alabama in a SEC championship 2 years ago. So pretty funny how the kind of the world's a little bit cyclical. But back to the controversy. Florida State goes undefeated, 13-0, wins an ACC championship, and yet still doesn't get in over an Alabama team that lost one game and shouldn't have beat Auburn in the Iron Bowl, which means they wouldn't have even been in this conversation to begin with. And yet somehow Florida State is the one left out in the cold. Jason, what is going on with this?
Money, 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 money.
Money.
All right, money makes the world go round, and so does so does it with the playoffs. In my opinion, Florida State deserves to be in there. If they got in there, they would have got smacked. We all know
Well, you
this.
can see that with the line. Georgia
Yeah.
right now is 14-point favorites in the bowl game. What
They,
game
Oh
was that?
wow.
The Sugar Bowl.
Alamo Sugar Bowl. Okay. They would have got smacked if they would have made it, and that's the whole reason why they don't want another repeat of TCU Georgia last year. They don't want to see another team actually get demolished. They want interest, entertainment, fans, and that leads all to the revenue. So, in my opinion, Florida State's not in there because they're A, not in the SEC, and B, because they don't have a quarterback, and they would have got smacked with that.
I guess that's fair enough. And honestly, if it's supposed to be the best four teams, I think the committee got it right. But it's hard for me to, and also it's the Orange Bowl. Sorry, guys, that's on me. Orange Bowl, Florida State, Georgia. My bad, my bad. But it's sort of they showed out of conference. The SEC has a losing record this year in out of conference games, a losing record, and a losing record to the ACC, which everyone's like, oh, the ACC is terrible, oh, it's trash. SEC has a losing record to the ACC this year, and it's absurd to me that everyone just puts the like Tennessee is still ranked. They have 4 losses this year, and one of them to Florida. Yet Tennessee is somehow still ranked. There's this bias towards the SEC teams. Now, having said that, I think I'm glad Alabama's in because Michigan Alabama is a much better game than Michigan Florida State or Washington Florida State. I'm very happy about the quality of games we're about to see, but I think it's impossible to deny that the committee and college sports in general has a massive bias towards the SEC, and maybe that's deserved, but color me not a fan.
Yeah.
I th- Another thing to add on to it, you got to think like that same TCU team beat the Michigan last year. So like, there's always a chance that they could win,
That was the
but
best. That was the best day of college football of my entire life. I know Ohio State lost, but are you kidding me? That TCU Michigan game and then the
Yep.
Ohio State Georgia game, those were fantastic. That
They were
Yeah,
was
they
great.
were
that was
great
amazing.
games.
That was amazing. And then to turn around and have a 66-6, whatever that score was, that was
Yeah.
absurd. And the national championship, and that's what they're trying to avoid. I understand it, but you hate to see it for Florida State. You hate to see it for those kids that literally spent, the entire summer and they worked their butts off and they won every game. They did exactly what everyone told them to do, and they still said, "Sorry, see you later. Ain't gonna happen."
Yeah,
So
I mean, it's not like they didn't play anybody either. They played LSU. They scheduled a non-conference game first week of the year. Absolutely demolished LSU against Jaden Daniels, who's the Heisman favorite right now. They had 3 top 25 teams, including a conference championship against a very good Louisville team who was ranked 14, I believe.
yeah,
Without their starting
14
quarterback,
without their starting
without
quarterback.
2 of their starting
Yeah,
quarterbacks.
they're on their third string. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Ohio State and Cardell Jones, huh? Who went on to win the national championship.
the only
Mm,
difference is they threw for 55 yards
Yeah.
total in their championship game, and
And
Cardale Jones lit it up
why
with
why
300
do we have to why do teams have to blow out other teams and have these incredible offenses to be considered good? Why can't we have defensive low scoring games and still win games? Why can't your team be anchored around a good defense
for the
but
same
you
reason that
get
Iowa isn't being considered for a playoff game because
but they have
it's
2 losses. We're talking about an undefeated Power 5 conference champion here.
true.
That's
If
not
we're
what they're.
talking about an undefeated Power Five conference team without the reason that they're undefeated, which is their quarterback, if you didn't have any offensive production from them at all this year and they were winning these games, then I think you would have an argument. I think that if Jordan Travis wasn't in the Heisman race, don't get me wrong, I think Florida State's getting screwed, and I feel bad for them, but you're talking about losing a play like the difference between JT Barrett to Cardale Jones was not nearly as significant as Jordan Travis to whoever started for them against Louisville. Like
Mhm.
55 yards passing total. And with a defense that's been good but not great, you're not talking about a perennial top 10 defense that they have. They've been good against Florida and Louisville. Like and they were good against Florida or LSU as well. But
See, I would agree with you if they had lost those games. They lose their starting quarterback and then their backup quarterback, and they still go out and beat a top 25 team. Are you kidding me? It is absolutely ridiculous that they left these guys out, and it's not like Alabama is playing lights out either. You alluded to it, they barely beat Auburn. They barely beat South Florida. They beat South Florida 17-3. They Alabama. I know. I agree with Jason. I think it's a money grab, and
they also beat Georgia.
they did beat Georgia. Not denying that, but they
It's the
lost.
best win in the country.
I agree with you. But if you want to go off of that, then why wasn't Ohio State considered, who lost to the number 1 team by a couple of 9 points, 8 points,
6 points.
6 points? Yeah, by 1
Yeah,
score.
we would have won if we would have scored a touchdown in the final draft.
Yeah,
The reason is because
because they're
the
not
Big Ten sucks. No, because the Big Ten sucks, and they have these dumb bylaws where it's East versus West instead of the 2 best teams playing in their conference championship. This is what Oregon had an opportunity to redeem themselves. Alabama had an opportunity to redeem themselves. Ohio State doesn't. Ohio State loses 1 game. Sorry about it. You're out. I think that's BS too. But having said that, I think again, Florida State, I think when you are playing in a not super strong conference, I mean, they only had 3 ranked teams at the end of the season, and you aren't dominant at all on offense, and you're really only dominant against a Louisville team whose offense isn't what makes them good. So I just like you were losing the game against Florida the entire time. You end up coming back and you win that game. But I understand what you're saying. I just don't think there's. I feel bad
Same
for
thing with
Florida
Auburn and
State.
Alabama. They were losing that game the entire time
And here's like the
and
biggest thing with
won
this.
on a fourth quarter prayer or a fourth down prayer. Sorry,
You're good.
Justin.
My bad, I cut you out. Here's I think the most important thing with this. Next year, we're not even going to remember any of this. Like, there's going to
Very
be a
true.
12 team.
Yeah,
There's going to be a 12-team playoff. So they wanted to make sure that they got the best product out this year. So there's
Makes sense.
something to remember. Because I think. Sorry, 1 second. Little of that sickness coming back. Okay, I think.
sorry, pal.
I think you're fine. I think if there was it was going to be another 14 playoffs this year, then they would have never done that. Next year, they would have never done that because you can't make that same mistake because then that would have forced bigger issues. Now you have, well, next year there's going to be a 12-team playoff, so what does it matter? So, you know what I'm saying? Like, they have a backup excuse. Like, you can't already change what's already been changed. Like, if they didn't have it already set up for next year, I think they would have had to double down on the Florida State.
Maybe we'll never know. We feel bad for Florida State. Still excited to see Washington play Alabama and Texas. I'm sorry, Michigan play Alabama and Washington play Texas. This is what that playoff picture looks like, and yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Closest lines to be released since the college football playoff started. Alabama is 1.5, I believe, point dogs, or at least they were when I checked earlier this week, to Michigan, and Washington is 4.5 point dogs to Texas. Should be an amazing game to watch. Other college football news: we have the transfer portal. Uh, Lots of names. Jason, how many people are in the transfer portal now?
I believe it was over 3,000. I couldn't find the exact number, but from when I saw it earlier, it was over 3,000.
It's crazy to think that basically just because of NIL and transfer portal have just absolutely changed what college football has become. We have now thousands of people who are moving all over the place. The big quarterback names are Dante Moore, Cam Ward, Riley Leonard, DJ Uyunglele, Grayson McCall, and Kyle McCord. It's OSU apparently. Now, Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, but last reports I heard, Cam Ward coming to Ohio State.
I'm hoping. From what I saw recently, Riley Leonard is looking to go to Notre Dame. Dante Moore, who I wanted the most, is looking to go to that team up north.
Blech.
Bleh. And we honestly don't care about the rest of them. So, Cameron Ward. Hopefully, he's the option for Ohio State. I would rather have Riley Leonard, in my opinion. I think he's going to be the most NFL ready quarterback from this group of players.
It's crazy what's going to happen. Teams are going to be different. I think something people don't talk about, if you're not in that Final Four of the college football playoff, how does this stuff affect your team? For instance, Kyle McCord gone. He's probably not playing against Missouri in the Cotton Bowl. How does that affect lines? How does that affect team? Is Marvin Harrison Jr. going to play? All this stuff now is like, because you can enter the transfer portal in December as soon as the regular season's over. It's crazy to think. What about teams in the Final Four? What if there's a couple players that are entering the transfer portal? How does that hurt team chemistry? It's just interesting to see, and it'll be interesting down the stretch. That pretty much wraps up college football. One little touch on the NBA, Jerry. Who? What is going on right now? I think we're at the semis. Is that right for uh, the in-season tournament? Who's still in?
Yeah, so that is correct. We are going into the semi-finals. They are tomorrow night, with the championship being on Saturday. So we'll be all together. We can watch that, whoever's going to be in it. But if you have not been watching the in-season tournament, you have really been missing out. They have done a really good job. of upping the competition here early in the season. The product has definitely worked. I think the only thing they need to get rid of is those godforsaken courts because they
Yeah.
are just painful to
So,
look at.
They're ugly.
Specifically Indiana's. It's like bright blue and it hurts to see. But the last two nights we've had the quarterfinals. We had the Pacers topping the Celtics on home court. A pretty good comeback there. Tyrese Halliburton is playing lights out right now. Pelicans kind of surprising over the Kings. I in the last couple episodes I had Kings as my team that I thought were going to win it. Unfortunately, De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis couldn't get it done, so the Pelicans are moving on. They will face the Lakers, who had a nice win against the Suns. Kevin Durant,
The Lakers, if
LeBron James.
LeBron name.
I'm
LeBron
not
James.
mistaken, that's who I picked.
All right,
Just
you have how many games have you watched this year, Ryan?
2. So I'm
Well,
basically
Wait,
not.
maybe
who
not
did I
watching
pick?
is the
I thought I
key.
picked the Lakers.
Huh? You picked the Bucks.
Oh, right.
And the Bucks are still in it, so you still got a
Yeah.
chance, Jason. You still got a chance. Giannis and Lillard are. I don't know how the Bucks got away with that one. How did they get Damian Lillard, man? Who let
I
that
don't know.
happen?
Thank
They
gold.
can't keep getting away with this.
But they bounced the Knicks, and they're moving on to play the Pacers. So we got the Bucks and the Pacers, and the Lakers and the Pelicans. Should be a couple of good games again tomorrow night. Is the semis? Make sure to tune in and watch it. Like I said, the level of competition really has been good. It feels like a playoff atmosphere. These guys are playing for money, and you have a lot of role players that don't make a whole lot on the bench. So when those guys get in the game, they really show out. As well as the starters. I'm sure LeBron James, wouldn't be sad if he had another $1,000,000 in his pocket. So
KD said it himself though. He's like, I didn't expect much from it, but it really felt like a playoff game, and I'm glad he's said he enjoyed it. So
yeah,
That's really exciting to hear because again, and I'm a proponent of this myth in a way, but I don't start paying attention to the NBA apart from what the Cavs record is until December, January, honestly, sometimes into February. I really don't start watching the games. This gives me a reason to actually start caring about it and knowing that this is a playoff atmosphere. Like this is some real intense and good ball being played. It's awesome for the sport, and it gives them a little bit, especially with college football winding down, kind of gives them a little bit of a window. The NFL is going to take over here very soon, completely, but definitely gives some people some excitement. So it's amazing to see.
yeah, absolutely. And they kind of did it perfectly. They fit it in. They fit in the championship right after conference championship weekend, or right before bowl games start. So they
Very
really
smart.
nailed that one.
Very smart. Very smart. What Jason say earlier? Money, 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 money.
Tommy DeVito, baby.
Exactly.
I don't even know.
Dono. Well, this has been our show for today. Thanks everyone for joining us. If you stuck with us the whole time, you guys are troopers. Uh, don't forget, subscribe, follow us at Unnamed Sports Show. We're on all the social medias. You can re-listen to our podcast anywhere you find podcasts or rewatch it on YouTube. If you joined late, joined early, and for some reason you just rejoined and are listening to my outro. But again, make sure to subscribe, like I said, leave us a comment. And we really appreciate you joining us today. Thanks, everyone.